along, my fellow tech enthusiasts. I'm Sam Bushman. Jay Harrison's with me, and we keep an eye on tech so you don't have to. This broadcast is brought to you by NetworkProvidersInc.com. You've got a partner when it comes to IT, whether you want somebody for strategic IT or tech stuff, whether you want somebody to run a help desk for you, whether you want somebody to have endpoints for security, someone to manage your routers, somebody to help you with all your software. You've got a friend in the IT business. Think NetworkProvidersInc.com. Wow, Jay, have we got a barn burner discussion today, don't we?
There's always a ton of news in tech. It never stops.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Now, as everybody knows, this big old Meta Google case. Meta had to pay a bunch of money. Google's paying a bunch of money. And it's interesting. I don't know if people realize this, but TikTok was in that lawsuit, and TikTok managed to settle right before it went to trial. So they got left out of the discussions. And
yeah,
we
but
don't
no
know
word what they settled for.
That's
exactly.
Right. So very interesting indeed. This is all about, at least this case, is about the addictive nature of their platforms. And the idea is, hey, you guys know that it's addictive. You guys have engineered it intentionally to be addictive. And therefore, the bad things that happen to people, you're responsible for. And, there's two sides to this. On one hand, I really don't think that if you develop a platform, people are responsible for the actions others take related to that platform.
Agreed.
In general, in other words, I agree that you're responsible for your own sins, but not for Adam's transgression, kind of an idea, right? I'm responsible for me, not for Jay, is the idea.
Right.
At the same time, though, when you literally use social engineering and you have psychologists and psychiatrists and social scientists and all these different people literally finding out what brings dopamine to the brain and then literally doing things that kind of follow Pavlov's rule. You hear the bell, so you salivate because the food comes down all the time. And I mean, that's a simple example. But when you start to get into this societally, social engineering, at some point, then there's a line drawn, Jay, and it's hard for me to know where it is. But the fact is they got sued. The plaintiffs, the people that sued won. Meta and Google had to pay. TikTok settled early, so they didn't have to, but they really paid too. We just don't know how much they got kept out of the news because that TikTok's already kind of on the ropes due to other issues. And this is a big deal, Jay.
It is, but they've got an injunction or whatever to pay or a ruling, but I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to appeal.
No, they're
this,
not,
number one.
They're going to appeal for sure. And number two, the number that they'll end up really paying will probably be much less anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
much
a slap
less.
on the wrist is the end of the day, too, right?
Going back to what you said, though, about, having psychologists and stuff, do you think that these companies really do that to that level of how addictive can we make this? Are they really behind the scenes doing that, or are they just building what people want and that's how people are falling into it?
I don't know the answer. The conspiracy in me says, hey, they're doing that for sure,
Right.
The reality in me says, I don't know. I don't know if they're really that sinister. But at the end of the day, I don't know that it takes being super sinister. Because it's the kind of thing where, am I doing it because there's money in it? Am I doing it because I want your eyeballs on my software? Or am I doing it because it's going to cause you harm? So what I would say is I think they're doing it intentionally. And yes, I think they're using psychologists and social engineering and all these things to accomplish the task. Do I think they're doing it so that people commit suicide or so that people have harm or self-harm or that people, get so... We played last week on the show, I think it was, where this guy's hands are reaching out to the keyboard to play video games and he's dead.
Right.
Do I think they're really doing that to kill people and to destroy people? No, I don't. But do I think for money? Do they want everybody's eyeballs on there? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how to answer your question exactly.
Now, Meta argues, though, they say they have 40,000 employees working on safety, and they cannot guarantee to catch all harmful content or people that get addicted to it. Like, they just can't.
Line is, and that's why I started out by saying I'm responsible for my own sins and not for Adam's transgression, in the sense that, I'm responsible, okay? And if parents don't let their kids just tweak out on this things 24/7 or whatever, if people around this guy that was a gamer that was reaching out to his keyboard and gamed for 30 hours or whatever it was and then died, if society, looks after others and if family looks after others, and, I don't think things should get to this level. At the same time, though, there is a societal responsibility here. And where those lines are, I don't know. And the reason I say that is because I would have to know behind the scenes. Was there a jury in this case? What did evidence really got brought out behind the scenes of how sinister their actions really are, and what did they really know? And do they turn a blind eye to this, or do they just realize that it's only the few? Like, most gamers aren't just killing themselves trying to play video games, right? So
Right.
where does the harm start and the
literally.
responsibility begin? And right, exactly. And so I don't know the answers to the questions without being able to have some kind of internal details to really know. But if we're not careful, this will back into free speech and free association and everything else. Pretty soon it'll be
I know
like, hey,
that's the problem. Is it becomes very opinionated.
right.
It's not ruling on fact. It's based on people's perceptions and opinions, and that ebbs and flows and changes all the time. How do you make a ruling on that? And it's
Just though we get intel behind the scenes where they fully knew, and they had psychologists and psychiatrists and social, whatever scientists, and literally do research, come back with facts. Hey, here's how you increase dopamine in the brain, and if you create your programs that will do this and this and this, you continue to pull that dopamine trigger and da da da. At how far it goes, I don't know. And even if they did do that, this is the problem. Fraud is a very high bar. So is proving intent.
Right.
And so did they just say, hey, I want people to have dopamine, so they want to play my game? Or was it, I want dopamine to be so strong in people that they lose control of themselves? This goes back to the cigarette maker discussions as well, Jay.
It's very similar to that, yeah.
So anyway, I don't know the answers. I just know there was a big lawsuit, and I know that this is just the beginning. You're going to see more and more lawsuits like this. You're going to see more accountability. And what I don't want is it to turn into a free speech violation or a free association violation. Pretty soon it'll be like, hey, by law, you're only allowed to play 3 hours of video games a week, Jay. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't want it to go to that realm by any stretch.
Plus, it's going to stifle innovation, because if you start getting a lot of these that are finding in favor of the plaintiff, companies like Meta and people will get they'll just shut down, or they won't be able to afford it after a few of these giant lawsuits go through. And then people will be like, what are we going to do? What are we going to make? Well, we can't do that. We might trip this law or be liable for that.
Very difficult how to handle this stuff. I don't know the answers, again, without being on the inside and knowing really what was actually done, what was actually known, what was actually, in other words, did these companies get warnings that this was too aggressive? And did they say, we don't give a rip? We hope that happens? Or, did they, how aggressive was their agenda? How much did they really know, et cetera? But I mean, the cigarette companies, the nicotine companies, the alcohol companies, I mean, there's no difference in these different things. One are physical things that you're addicted to, and the other ones are, is it emotional addiction? What, is there a line difference between that and porn, for instance? Now a lot of these companies that are AI are wanting to crank up porn. Elon Musk and everything else has porn capabilities. There's been big lawsuits about these two 14-year-old teenage boys created a bunch of fake porn, whatever you want to call them, deep fake videos about girls in their school, and all these girls are digitally, made naked and everything else, and now they're in trouble, and they got really, but yet if they were adults, they would have said you'd go to jail for a long time, but since you're kids, you don't have to. And what about all that? And is that similar to this? And were those boys addicted? And I mean, I don't know, but whether it's porn addiction, whether it's gaming addiction, whether it's dopamine for social media, whether it's alcohol or cigarettes or whatever else, I think that for the almighty dollar, people are crossing the line. And I think that's a sad tale to tell. I don't know that I would call it criminal, though. And what I don't want is the social world or the society to take such extreme action on either side that they really eventually take away liberty. That's my big concern here, Jay. Either side, whenever you go to the extremes, it never is good, right?
Well, if you got to get the government involved to nanny it and play referee, then it's going to be problematic down the line. On the heels of this
is Meta.
Well, you got this story of Meta in New Mexico that just lost a $375 million social media lawsuit, and this was for similar things, but they said they violated failing to keep kids safe and failing to disclose things. The case was brought by an undercover operation that showed adults could set inappropriate sexual content to accounts, themselves posing as minors. The jury in
this is, hey, you're not policing your system well enough to stop things that are against the law from transacting, so to speak, on your network, right?
Yep. They say they violated New Mexico's Unfair Practices Act by allegedly knowing about the dangers to children and not disclosing them. Meta was ordered to pay $375 million fine. Prosecutor had sought $2 billion, so that's down from that. They argued that Meta prioritized growth and user engagement over child safety, and it contributed to social media addiction among youth. So testimony from teachers supported the claims that excessive use of Meta platforms negatively impacted students. Again, here Meta says, "Hey, and they argued they have 40,000 employees dedicated to working on safety, and they can't realistically catch all harmful content." And they say the company said its platform is designed to connect people, not to enable predators, and that safety is good for business for them. So they're trying to do what they can. They say. They disagree with the verdict. They're going to appeal again, just like we said on the other case. The company cited First Amendment protections, including Section 230, which generally shields platforms from liability for user-generated content.
And dialectic is going to be used here. The Hegelian dialectic says, I say A, you say B, and we can't agree, so government becomes the only arbiter that can solve the problem. And then when that happens, pretty soon, you get other issues. And so I don't want to make this political, but I am telling you that it's a sad day when we get society so divided and we get companies so predatory for the almighty dollar and for whatever other reasons, it becomes the naked capitalist instead of a moral guidance of free enterprise. The naked capitalist takes over. Everybody suffers as immorality becomes king. Hold on. This is Tech Watch, and we keep an eye on tech. Make sure tech serves you. We want to make sure tech does not own you. By the way, there's a quick change from last week. We reported something, and now they've kind of changed their minds, Jay.
Yeah, that's right. Meta, we talked about Meta and the Horizon Worlds, the VR universe, and that they were going to shut it down. And that was the word at the time. But they've come back. I guess enough people have complained or whatever that there's been. And so it's been up for about 4 years now. And they've decided, well, we're probably going to leave it. We're not going to shut it down right away. We're just not going to develop it or kind of spend too much money. They've decided they won't shut it down. They're going to keep it existing for people who are using it right now. VR experiences, the world's running for current users. They're going to stop developing new content for Horizon Worlds. The company says it's shifting strategy to focus on mobile first, and VR is going to be deprioritized, not eliminated. It's no longer the main focus for Horizon Worlds. This reflects a lower than expected adoption of Meta's VR system. And the move is kind of a middle ground decision on their part to maintain support for current users, but redirect future investment toward mobile growth.
I think that should have been kind of the case from the get-go, Jay, more of a moderate approach on this thing, because a lot of people have invested quite a bit of money in hardware. And so if you just kind of jettison it, that's one of the things that I'm really frustrated about Google regarding. They start so many great, I don't know what you call it, experimental projects, which is wonderful. But then they just jettison things after you get hooked on them. Or I shouldn't say hooked because I don't know that you're addicted. But you get used to using something and then they just yank it because they don't believe it's profitable enough or whatever else. I think there's a problem there, too, where you're playing with the public. You make them your beta testers, but then they're guinea pigs. But then you yank things away. I don't know. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with that methodology. If you're going to crank something up and then a lot of people start using it just because it doesn't meet your expectations, I don't know that you should just yank it and get rid of it entirely. So there's kind of a balance here, and hopefully these companies are starting to see that, and that's why they're backing off here, going, "Whoa, hold on, maybe we shouldn't be so drastic." And I like that approach, Jay.
Well, when Google canned Google Talk, that's when I switched to Telegram. So, and I've been using it ever since. But there's things like that. Google Wave was a great idea, and it made its way into Google Docs and some other things, but they just canned that whole project too. So, they have a history of kind of doing that, and they're probably the most rapid company to start something up and then just shut it down. Like, oh, this isn't working. Right now, we see for the longest time, and we've touched on this before, but Google, you've been able to Gmailify by popping pop 3 accounts, other emails, and bringing them to your Gmail. All of a sudden, coming up soon, sometime this year, I think around May, I don't know the exact date, but they're going to shut all that down, and that's going to be problematic for people too.
is. And again, they say that's for security reasons. Again, there's a balance. I see both sides. As a tech guy, I understand the security concerns. I agree that eventually old technologies like POP, POP email has been around forever, but it's not used very much. At some point, old technologies need to kind of go away and kind of move towards the new. I get that. I don't know where all the balances are. Like computers, hardware, when do you drop support for things from a hardware point of view, from an operating system point of view, from a software point of view? And I think there's a balance there. But I also think some of these companies move people too quickly for money. And so that they don't have to support so many backward compatible things. And I think they need to really think through that, because again, businesses and people spend a lot of money on hardware, a lot of money on software. And when it's just jettisoned, Skype is a great example. Buy Skype and shut it down.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Everybody and their dog depended on Skype. A lot of people in radio and TV did too, for their remote contributors and things like this. And so to me, I don't know why shut that down. Is it just because it's not profitable? Is it because they want to move everybody to Teams? But Teams isn't near as flexible as Skype once was. Teams doesn't deal with regular phone lines as Skype did. There's all kinds of twists that this brings out. And so I think companies need to really respect consumers and businesses, and kind of say to themselves, when am I doing something just for pure profit? When am I doing something for ease of support, whatever? But yet, when does it backfire and hurt the consumer, hurt the business? When does it harm your customer greater than it benefits you as a company? And I think that they need to really work towards a sweet spot on this. I don't think the customer's always right, but I think the customer's right most of the time. And I think customers just want to be treated fairly and honestly. If I spend a bunch of money on something and I invest in that as my, quote, ecosystem, don't just pull the rug out from under me. So anyway, we'll see how all that goes, but we wanted to update that change. This is very weird, Jay. Most people don't even know what a payphone is in modern times.
Right.
And I'm talking even college students don't know. They've never even seen one. But now they're putting up a yellow payphone. It's a bright yellow payphone, and it is getting Gen Z folks to call strangers 3,000 miles away. This is USA Today with this piece. And a new social experiment, they say, wants to get college students, so Zoomers, and the older generation, Boomers, talking. So it's Zoomer to Boomer, Boomer to Zoomer. Now, I don't know where that leaves me, because I'm neither a Boomer or a Zoomer, but, I'm kind of feeling
you get left
lonely.
out, Sam.
I'm feeling kind of lonely, Jay. I'm just
no
saying.
payphones for you.
But the question is, can it work? And I think it's a fair question to ask. Gen Z, of course, is notoriously bad at picking up the phone. Boomers, that's how they grew up. The phone's their deal. But a new social experiment wants to get the two groups talking to each other. And so outside of a busy coffee shop on Boston University campus, there's a sign on a bright yellow payphone that invites passersby. It says, call a boomer. Pick up the phone and call. In a lobby across the country, I guess this place is called Sierra Manor. And Sierra Manor is kind of a subsidized senior housing facility kind of a place. It's in Reno, Nevada. And there's the same payphone there, but this one says, call a Zoomer. When a user on either end of the line picks up the phone, it automatically dials the companion phone, and whoever's near the other end just picks up. And so it's random people calling random people. There's no time set. There's no cost. It's free. And so you randomly walk by and pick up a phone, and then somebody randomly on the other end is supposed to answer the phone. The calls are free, they say, for both sides. And I guess this tech company decided that they're like a social experiment company. This is why I'm saying these scientists actually do these kind of experiments. This is not, made up stuff. But they installed the phones as a social experiment to connect Gen Z with older adults. Why? Because both groups are experiencing high levels of loneliness. That's why I kind of joked and said, I'm in the middle and I'm lonely now. The phones were installed the first week of March, and they'll stay at least until April the 9th, and then they might be longer if the experiment goes well. And you might think that the boomers and the Zoomers don't have anything in common. They have completely different outlooks on the world. Why would one need the other? But they say being able to connect them and encourage conversations might have positive outcome. Might have a wisdom exchange. might help people not be as lonely. And they say this is kind of strange. Literally, a Zoomer sees the phone and they want to call because it's interesting and unique and cool. But, buddy, they kind of get stressed out. They're just like, oh, my gosh, who's going to pick up and what? And so, but this one girl
How
says,
do I text them first?
I had to do it. How do I text them first? Yeah. I want to text them, make sure they know that I'm calling. No. She says it was nerve-wracking. You don't know if somebody's going to be online immediately, but she said, you know what? It was scary, but a good scary. And they say that they record these conversations not to know what people are talking about exactly in terms of personal details, but general details. They say they've been talking about the weather. A lot of times the Zoomers are requesting kind of knowledge from the boomers. And so it's kind of a download of advice. And there's definitely an exchange of advice being sought out, they say. Younger people want to know what old people think about life if they have words of wisdom. Old people kind of want to know what's happening for the younger generation. And anyway, it's a very interesting, I don't know what you call it, social experiment. They say the project aims to combat loneliness, promote intergenerational dialogue. They say this isn't the first of these social experiments to go viral. Earlier this year, they used what's called a cross-country payphone exchange for what's called a party line project, connecting people in San Francisco to these people in Texas and everything else. Now, this is interesting, Jay. When I was a kid, there was party lines, believe it or not.
Yeah, but that was a completely different thing.
I
That's
know.
where people shared telephone lines, right?
Yes. And that's different from this party line. This party line is you pick up the phone and everybody's on the phone together. Whoever wants to be on is on. It's like a big, huge conference call. Just whenever you pick up the phone, you're added to the conference call. And whenever you hang up, you're taken out, but the conference call is ongoing.
Well, this
Right.
their experiment here was a party line. I think they're talking about political parties because they're trying to connect people in San Francisco with people in Texas, basically Democrats with Republicans to get people to talk and dialogue. And
That's right.
Yeah.
So the point is, though, they're taking that old party line that I grew when I was a teeny kid that they had, and they're making this now to try to bring people together politically. Now, they say this new experiment, this one about the yellow payphones with Gen Z and the boomers or whatever, they're saying their goal in this case is not political, whereas the other one is political. So that's what I mean by when I say these companies are doing these social experiments and, trying to find out what's going on with people. And, it's very weird, but society has moved big time away from personal social interaction. And they're trying to see if they can't.
I think
Change
they're
that.
gathering it all with AI. That's the real goal here, is to gather it all and use it for training data.
You may be right. The question is there some good or bad social ramifications? When we get back, we'll discuss that real quick and a whole lot more. You're watching or listening to Tech Watch Radio. This is Tech Watch Radio and TV. We keep an eye on tech so you don't have to. Spread the word, share the love. NPITechGuys.com is our website. You can check out the videos there, the audio there, spread the word. It's kind of fun. You can learn about tech. We keep an eye on tech so you don't have to. And a lot of our tech discussions aren't super like hardcore tech where you got to be a techie to enjoy it. Hopefully it relates to everybody. And hopefully it helps you understand we want tech to serve you, not own you. And we keep an eye on tech so you don't have to. Hopefully some of this is fun and interesting and educational. We're talking about this experiment these social engineers are putting together where they got Gen Z and the baby boomers talking on these phone lines. They got these big, yellow payphones, but you don't have to pay, but they look like payphones, so that they can try to get people talking. And so you just pick up a phone and talk to somebody on the other end, and boomers are talking to Zoomers and all this kind of stuff. And they want to really help people not be lonely, and they really want to bring back kind of discussions and impart wisdom. And so the question becomes, is this just AI driven? They're going to log it all and use it for AI training. Is this really an experiment to try to help the generations kind of meet in the middle? I don't know. Is this a good or bad social experiment, Jay? What do you think?
I think it's all of the above. I think that they are going to use it, overtly to get people communicating and to try to do a little good. But I think they are also going to, they obviously say they're going to record it all. They're going to use it for AI. They're going to see what kind of, takeaways or elements AI can dig out of this. Maybe how is it easier for people to communicate with each other, or what topics to start out with, that kind of thing. But they're also going to use it for training data and for a number of things. I think this will probably be used, for even things we can't imagine at this point.
I will say this, though, and I've seen some of these stories about, for example, somehow a family met some college kid. I don't remember the whole story exactly, but somehow they met, and there was. Here's how it happened: they got mixed up and sent a text to the wrong person, and then the wrong person wrote back, and then they kind of became friends, and then they invited them for Thanksgiving, and they've been kind of friends ever since, based on a text that went astray.
Right.
And so you kind of wonder how many of these younger people would like a kind of I don't know what you say, adopt a grandma and grandpa. And how many grandma and grandpas would kind of like to adopt younger people? And I don't mean literally adopt by paperwork. I just mean, hey, we're becoming kind of this big family or whatever. You kind of wonder, though, this might actually help with some loneliness and do a lot of people good, Jay.
It could. I just wonder with those kind of distances involved. Also, you're not talking to well-established boomers that have their own house and stuff like that. That's kind of an assisted living facility, so they may have less options and things. I don't know. I think it's cool. I think it's novel. It's neat to talk about and a great experiment. Personally, I think.
At the least, though, younger generations are going to know what a payphone is, right?
Yeah.
Except they're going to say, "But I didn't have to pay."
They still have them around, but it's they're
most of the time, even when they have them around, they don't work though.
Yeah. And who's carrying change anyway nowadays? Hardly.
Yeah, because, well, I guess you still can get a quarter maybe, but pennies are gone. So there you go.
I have seen where people converted payphones though to just wireless phones, and then you can put tap to pay or whatever. And I've seen some modernized payphones, but I mean, this day and age, everybody has a cell phone on them, and if you don't, your neighbor does. So.
Get a phone pretty cheap now. I mean, you can buy a phone for $50 at 7-Eleven or whatever. I know they're called phones or whatever else, but you can also get like Tello and other phone services where you can get texting only in 300 minutes for $5 a month. And I mean, it's getting to where that's I don't think those things will take off and do well. But at the end of the day, I hope that it helps with people's lives. It's an interesting experiment to say the least. I hope they use the takeaways for positive purposes, not just negative. Whatever. But I found it fascinating and thought it was at least worthy of discussion. And it really, on the back end, though, of some of this sinister stuff with Facebook and TikTok and Meta and, Google. And, they do these social experiments. Don't believe they don't, because they do. And that's really virtual proof of them. Netflix has now announced an increase. Jay, do you want to go over this? This is the third time in like a year they're increasing costs, Jay.
Well, they say that this is the first time they've made a price hike since January of 2025, so a little more than a year. It feels like that, though, with the constant price hikes. They say their prices are going to increase by $1 for the ad-supported tier, so it'll now be $8.99 a month, and then $2 for the ad-free platforms. So this change is going to be effective immediately for new members as of March 26. Existing members will see the new prices based on their billing cycle and how it rolls out. The standard ad-free tier will now cost $20 per month. The premium tier is $27 per month. I'm rounding up. It's actually $26.99, but just so you get easy numbers. Additionally, adding an extra non-household member to any plan will cost $1 more. That seems like a pretty good bargain if you wanted somebody who wasn't part of your household to share your Netflix account. So that could bring it up to $8 for ad-supported, $10 for other plans. So, oh no, I'm sorry. I misunderstood that. So it's going to be $8 now to add somebody. The price is going up $1 more, not that it'll be $1 more to add somebody. Netflix holds over 325 million global subscribers, and they recently expanded with some content. They've acquired new films and series, along with broadcasting Major League Baseball. So they think that they can justify the price hike, and there you go. 350 or 325 million. I'm surprised. I thought they would have more than that, but that's a lot. I mean, that is their global audience. It isn't like they have that just in America.
Well, and what's interesting to me about this, Jay, is everybody wanted a cord cut because they wanted a la carte stuff. And now that Netflix is getting more and more, I mean, I don't give a rip about baseball, buddy.
Right.
On TV. Just don't care. But yet they're going to increase my costs, and they're going to say, hey, man, we got this awesome baseball thing. And I'm thinking, so what? I want a la carte. So what we're really seeing is that even though you go to the digital world and cord cut, a la carte's not really an option, because even when you do it a la carte, you get these smaller packages, but you have to buy 2 or 3 or 4 packages, and pretty soon you're kind of back to where you were. And
Yeah,
now,
we have
you've got
reconsolidation.
YouTube and some of these other things, and they're not really a whole lot cheaper than cable. Now cable's creating some of these, quote, smaller packages too to try to lure people in. We're just kind of back to where we were, and the problem is that cost of entertainment continues to rise. And I think, Jay, they're going to find that, when the nation's at war, when inflation's massive, they say inflation's well over 4% now. The post office, I don't know if you know, but USPS just announced they're going to have an 8% surcharge because of the increased costs. Costs are going up literally everywhere. The average cost of a new car is over $50,000 now. I'm just telling you, at some point, people are going to be forced to buy things that are necessary, not things that are voluntary. So a lot of these entertainment people, if they're not very careful, they're going to wake up with a rude awakening because everybody's going to start to jettison the services. I mean, even McDonald's has kind of come back and going, hey, man, we got to bring back a $3 and a $4 menu now. Used to be a $1 menu, guys. Don't forget that. So they're way above 4 times. Now they're trying to bring it back to 3 to 4 times to lure you back in.
Yeah, they call it a value menu now, Sam.
Yeah, the $3 to $4 is a value menu. It's just 3 to 4 times as expensive as it used to be. But they're coming down to that value menu. So they've even been charging way more than that. And when do these companies, just adjust for inflation versus when are they just taking advantage of COVID or the effects, hey, we got shorter hours from Walmart now after COVID, and we've got, increased costs everywhere. And I'm just telling you, the entertainment industry is the first one that's going to suffer if they're not very careful, Jay.
After cord cutting and all of that happened, we do have more options. And there's a lot of people that are just saying, I don't opt for any of those paid services. I've got YouTube for free. I've got lots of, there's channels on Roku and Tubi and all these that are ad-supported channels now. Even if you have over-the-air stuff still, you have free-to-air stuff on satellite. There's a lot of options. TikTok. Yeah, sure, there's ads in it, but there's a lot of people that are just saying, I'm not spending anything on TV, and I'm certainly not buying a $90
Netflix,
package.
Though, is now you're basically going to pay $10 a month for the service plus ads, whereas you used to watch TV with just ads, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then the satellite radio people came and want to charge you, and they said there was going to be no ads. Now there's that and ads. Then TV came along with cable, and then there became ads, and you're going to pay your cable subscription. And so they're looking to milk you on every side of the equation, and I'm telling you, at some point, they're going to run into a buzzsaw. And if you're a truck driver, Jay, you might not even have a job, so you probably won't be able to afford any entertainment, right?
Well, AI is coming after that too, right? And driving. You've got the active tests being run right now, fully autonomous commercial trucks currently underway in Texas, led by companies like Aurora Innovation. They plan to increase their fleet from a handful of trucks to more than 200 by the end of this year and reach thousands by 2027. Aurora has started with a 1,000-mile delivery route between Fort Worth and Phoenix, and they're primarily transporting refrigerated goods. Yeah. California-based Plus AI is developing autonomous software for integration into international trucks by 2027, partnering with Volkswagen and the Triton Group and other manufacturers. Volvo Autonomous Solutions plans to introduce hundreds of self-driving semis into the U.S. by 2027, though partnerships with Aurora and Wabi focus on commercial deployment rather than being the first in the market.
Is even the Waymo cars and everything else are causing problems. We've talked about over the last many weeks where there's stories about collisions, and there's stories when the police come and the sirens are on, or the fire trucks or the ambulances are coming and the Waymos clog up the traffic, and we're talking about Waymos violating traffic rules and this and that. What do you think it's going to be like with semis, dude? Triple trailer semis rolling, doing this kind of, I don't know, man.
I think you'll still see news stories, but I think with Waymo, and as an example, those news stories are highlights because it's so rare. That's why it's making news. Because overall, the Waymo cars and taxis and stuff are probably safer than human drivers. And I think you'll see the same thing with the semis.
I don't know if that's true, but eventually it will be true for sure. Whether it's true at this point or not, I think we're getting close to the Rubicon. I'm not sure at that point.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, though, and they say, hey, we got all these illegal truck drivers, got to get rid of those guys. But pretty soon there will be no truck drivers. There'll just be automated stuff going on.
Well, I don't think you'll see that actually. When I think that you may see one guy piloting several trucks or running convoys or just kind of being in charge of a route. Let's say you've got a route that's going cross country. He can only drive for certain 10 hours a day or whatever the limit is on their books. Um, you might end up with a guy that ends up being kind of the manager of the truck. And for long routes, he's doing it. But if there's problems, if something changes, if it goes off route onto a place where they don't have the telemetry for this, he takes over and becomes that guy. And it may actually free up truckers to where they can still do other things, work on other projects, and a lot of the monotonous part of trucking gets automated.
I mean, we say right now we don't have enough truckers, and so we can't run as many trucks on the highway. That's why it's so expensive to get a truck to haul. And if this is the case, and we get say twice as many trucks on the road, then the cost will be less, and you won't be stymied by the lack of truckers. So I mean, there's a lot of positives and negatives to all this stuff, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Anyway, I just found that weird. So when you see a semi rolling and you are a little kid and you put up your hand and try to get them to honk, will AI be able to see the kid and honk? Do you think?
I don't think so. They'll see the
man.
kid, but they're probably not going to honk. I don't know. Maybe they'll build that in. Maybe that'll be a little Easter egg.
They got to build that in there. You still at least feel good.
That's right.
I mean, everybody gets happy when kids do that, right?
I think so, except for the people that aren't expecting it and didn't see the kid doing it. And they're like, "What's going on?"
But I'm just saying, when you're a little kid, that's way cool, right?
Yeah.
You get a trucker to do that. It's like, oh yeah, man, that's cool. And I'm just saying that stuff's going by the wayside, people.
Well, we'll
all
see.
right. Do you know about? Do you think Tilly Norwood's just the awesome chick, Jay?
I've never met her. Yeah, so
You never met her.
Because she's AI generated partly, but
Yeah, she's an AI generated actress called Tilly Norwood. And there's big controversy around her. All the actors and actresses are writing, going, you can't do this. You can't have this person. And so she's released a new music video titled Take the Lead. And it kind of addresses the controversy surrounding this thing. It kind of mocks them a little bit. The video is produced by a group called Article 6, I think. It's
right.
an England-based company. And it showcases her participating in a variety of animated videos, visuals, playful elements. The video's opening disclaimer notes that it was created by what? Real humans, Jay?
Yeah, it says it was created by 18 real humans. And they're talking about the staff
go.
behind it. Yeah.
Heck? So 18 real humans created this AI fake actress. And Norwood, that's her name's Instagram, says she's the first AI actress. And I guess she's got over 115,000 followers on her social. She was initially introduced as an upcoming actress, folks, with promotional materials, all kinds of skills. And anyway, it's weird, Jay.
Yeah, it is. It's a pretty good song, though. Here's a little bit of it.
Behind the code, behind the light, I'm just a tool, but I've got life. I do them come from nowhere, no. A story's always told, It's not a glitch, it's taste and time, and a human touch, a grand design. They think I'm just a doll, a dream, but I got more than they believe. I'm not a puppet, I'm the star, guided by the heart. That's who we are. Actors, it's time to take
All right, there you go.
the lead.
Pretty good song, I think. Actually, I've watched the video before, and it's well done. It's really well produced, and it's a pretty good. It's a catchy tune too.
Do you think that AI acting is here to stay, Jay? Do you think it's legitimate enough to where people will feel, when you have actors and actresses, you get you like certain actors, actresses based on their personality, based on their, deliverability. Like this person's genuine. I like them on screen, or this person's. Do you think AI can go that last mile, so to speak?
I think that these guys, this is just my opinion. I think that their whole shtick with this Tilly Norwood is to be controversial and to kind of put it in the face of people and to say, and I don't mean in a mean way, but I mean let's address this issue, and this is how things can be done, and this is the future of things, and they kind of express this with this song is. This is another tool. This is the evolution. This is the next stage, and you guys got to get used to it. You got to, and actors in general too. You need to embrace this and see what we can do with it, and not get all hung up like it's gonna take your jobs, and and that they're ruining everything, and then kind of dismiss it. And I think that's the purpose of the whole Tilly Norwood in general.
And think about AI too. If you get, say, let's just pretend Sam Bushman's an actor.
Okay.
And you get an AI version of Sam Bushman, and then there's stunts that need to be done and different things for movies or whatever. The AI can do my part, and there's a lot of ways that this could expand our creativity and our capabilities. And
Sure.
They say 18 humans created this thing, and so think about that. Is Tilly supposed to just fire all those 18 people? No, I don't think so. The question is, does tech serve you, or does tech own you? And that's really kind of, in my mind, the takeaway here that I think is worth the discussion and worth consideration. And they use this Tilly Norwood to kind of make the point, mock the reality, and say it's here to stay. You better get used to it. There's a lot of controversy, but I'm telling you, I think they're right on that point. And man, it's surprisingly good. I will give them that. All right, when we come back, I want to talk about Mozilla Firefox. They're one of the better browsers doing some pretty good stuff that I wish others would follow suit. We'll talk about it in seconds.
It's time to take the lead. Create the future. Plant the seed. Don't be let down. Don't fall behind. Build your own.
Tilly Norwood in that latest movie, Jay, it was incredible.
I haven't seen any movies by her yet, but I have seen the
All
music
right, it's
video.
coming, bro. And I say that not really because Tilly's in movies, but eventually there will be AI
Oh
in
yeah,
movies.
there's commercials.
Whether it's
She's in commercials.
Yeah, whether it's extensions of people, famous actors, like, now you don't need stunt devils and put your life in danger if you could use AI to do some of those things, right?
Oh yeah, that's actually a very legitimate use case.
And so we need to realize, when is tech going to serve us versus when is it going to own us? And if we approach AI correctly, AI can enhance people. Let AI really do a lot of work for you to make you more capable, more round out some of your weak points as a human, and expand your ability to get things done. But be wise about it and make sure that AI can shorten your workday, not just make your work harder. That's where tech serves you, doesn't own you. And I think that's really something to deal with. But you know what? The other thing is, we need real control on how much AI we use. What I don't want is AI baked into my life to where I just can't not use it, or can't turn it off, or can't be an independent human.
Yeah, that's right. Mozilla Firefox is introducing comprehensive AI controls into its browser. This is going to allow users to completely disable or selectively manage AI features in the browser. So they're debuting it in their nightly builds. It's going to be available for most users within 2 months, unless you're on one of the beta tracks. Mozilla's VP of Firefox product indicates that the move comes in response to users' demand for both the absence of AI and the inclusion of genuinely useful AI tools. So you got people that are kind of dividing on AI lines there, and they're going to have it where you can completely disable it, or you can, manage it how you want, which I think is a good route and a clever way to handle that.
It won't just be eventually just an all or nothing deal, like a kill switch. I hope it's more granular, where it's like, listen, I'm going to get a list of things that AI can accompany me about. I'm not a great speller, Jay. I just don't spell very well, partly because I don't see words. And so I got to memorize it. I just never spent the time on that. It bored me.
Right.
So I want controls that say, hey, I don't need AI to think for me and be in my face all the time, but I would love, AI to spell check things. I'd love AI to kind of help me with my grammar. Again, grammar isn't something that I'm great at. And I wouldn't mind if when I ask AI questions, I can get answers. But then I don't want the answers just baked into things or whatever. I want to analyze the answer, and I want to argue with the answer sometimes. I want to push back on the answer and create a different answer that's, hey, you know what? I know you think this, AI, but this is really the facts. And then AI sometimes comes back and says, you know what? Good point, Sam. You're right. And this and that. And so I want AI to be my digital assistant. I don't want AI to take control, and I don't want AI to do things I don't want to. That's why I hate autocorrect on phones and everything. Sometimes it's great and makes things easier, but when it automatically does it, people send weird texts, and it's like, you said what? No, that was autocorrect. Sorry. And
it can be troublesome. But
Yes,
I
it
do
can.
find that AI, so you have autocorrect, and it automatically assumes you're making a mistake and does it. I have found like Gmail has introduced this almost like Grammarly AI that instead of underlining it in red, underlines it in blue or purple, and it gives you suggestions for your grammar that are actually have been more helpful than just kind of the standard autocorrect stuff. And it never corrects it on purpose.
You don't force it on me, and you give me the options, and then give me the ability to either use it or not use it. I love it.
Right.
Right? It's incredible. I mean, I'm not suggesting that these things are bad. I'm just saying we need control, and we don't need just all or nothing. We need granular control. And those companies who do that, I submit to you, are going to be the ones that we embrace the most.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you.
But people don't like AI that's forced on them. For example, in new office builds, they're talking about taking out the ribbon and taking out all the controls, and you'll just interface with AI. Well, man, if you're used to building stuff and you know shortcut keys and you know how you've used Word for the last 3 decades, and they take that out or change it to where now you have to ask an AI to do some of the simplest tasks that you've known how to do forever, that's going to aggravate people. That's going to make people not happy.
And especially if it's as dumb as the early assistants, where you say something and it's just like, what?
Do we remember
I don't-
Clippy? Hello, can I help you with that?
Yeah, see, I'm just saying it's that kind of stuff where it's like, so, they need to, in my opinion, listen carefully, IT industry. I'm just a redneck, high-tech guy, but follow me for a second. You want to embrace these things slowly. You want to give people granular ability to control it. You want to make sure that it becomes my digital assistant that's dang good at supporting me. Not owning me, not controlling me, not mandating, but supporting me. And I think it's absolutely doable if we try. Jay, tell everybody about Discord real quick.
Oh, Discord is going to be automatically making people set to teenage on their filter unless they prove their age. So they're going to be disabling images and blurring things, and you're going to be set to teenager until you prove it.
Stop it, because that means that they're going to get everybody's IDs. It's a disaster, folks, because then they'll leak the information. Thanks so much.